Oh, this thing's on. Good morning. August 20th on a Saturday morning, 8:59 a.m. No, it's not 8:59. It's 10:59. No, it's not 8:59. It's 10:59. No, it's not 8:59. Mute that. So that gives me a confirmation of audio. And let's see. I've got Jeff's in the waiting room. Let's go ahead and let him in, and then I'll turn off the waiting room. I guess I was actually on the wrong button to start. Here comes Jeff. Hello, Jeff.
Good morning.
Oops, looks like I gotta fix a piece of my Zoom settings here. Hang on a second. I had this set up right, but then it automatically ended after
Whoa,
40
three of
minutes.
me. 4 or
Yeah.
5, that's scary.
So yeah, on Zoom, you're going to be seeing what I'm broadcasting. So now you're seeing the two of us in my frame. And I've patched over my photos, so that's actually showing on Zoom, or showing on the video. So a little adjustment here. A couple of changes in today's broadcast. Some people may or may not have noticed. How are you, Jeff?
Good, good.
Oh, let's see. I haven't turned off the waiting room yet. I'm going to go turn that off so that people can come in.
Oh, you still got your networking equipment laying out.
Yeah. I thought I was going to get that cleaned up, and I got distracted.
That was interesting. That was sort of a convoluted way you had to get into it.
Yeah, it was.
Never would have thought of going that way.
I knew about that technique already because I had to use that technique to do the original configuration for my client's home office and his weekend home office. So we ordered the always-on router, the VPN router, sent it to them. They were brand new, not configured. So I had to, in both cases, connect to his computer that way. Now, I'm going to have to fix some things. I think I've got this figured out, how to make these fixes stick. So there, I adjusted that. Hello, Jose. I saw you. Hello. Yeah. All right. So let me finish the story to Jeff. And I guess I should give a summary to the audience of what we're talking about. On the recent Windows Daily episode, I guess it was yesterday. Yeah, it was Thursday and yesterday. We're telling about diagnosing this network problem, this internet problem for a client. And I had all these devices out here to kind of give a show and tell of how it works. But in order to fix his VPN router, I had to we connected his laptop with a 50-foot long Ethernet cable to his internet service provider's modem. So that allowed me to connect remotely to his laptop. Then through Ethernet, then using the Wi-Fi device on his laptop, I connected to the Wi-Fi access point, which was connected to one of the switches, which was connected to another switch, which was connected to the VPN router. And that's how I could get to the VPN router, because the VPN router was not working when it was connected to the internet. But I had to use a similar technique when I originally configured both of his VPN routers.
Now, in the end, you had to FaceTime him and have him do something too?
And I did. We had to use FaceTime because in that instance,
you reset his modem at some point?
Yeah, well, I didn't actually have to do the FaceTime thing, but that was the step that we went through to get to the point where we were so desperate that we got to the point where I call it throwing mud at the wall, doing something that doesn't make sense to see if it would fix it, and that's what fixed it. And it was resetting the internet service provider's router to factory default settings.
That's almost going back to the old solution. Whatever's wrong with your computer, turn it off and start it again.
Yeah, but that's a sensible thing to do these days. We know that well enough that in my mind, and my clients know that too. Restart the equipment. A lot of them will do that before they call me, because they know that if they call me and describe the situation, I'm likely going to ask them, have you tried restarting the computer? no, and then they try it, and that fixes the problem, and they learn their lesson. Typically, a client only needs to go through that once or twice, where they've spent some time trying to fix it themselves, and they call me, ask them if they've restarted their computer. They say no, they do that, and it's okay.
That's been true for a while. I think the
Yeah,
difference now is that with the latest versions of Windows, even if you have to hold down the power button to shut it off, typically it doesn't do any damage.
right.
If you were like in Windows XP days or whatever, you might cause some issues by just pulling the plug or whatever.
Right. And I had an instance of that yesterday where a client called me and she had one of these scam pop-up notices in their internet browser saying you're infected, call this phone number, and it was giving an audible thing. Well, she had sent me an email about that issue. She didn't even call me. When I called her back a couple hours later, I could hear her over the phone. The audio was still coming through. She put up with it that long. And she's had this before. But she said, I know you've told me what to do here before, and I know it was simple, but I can't remember what it was. And I said, just force the power off on the computer. Hold down the power button. Now, there are some times that you can just click the X in the upper right corner to close those windows and close the browser. Sometimes it won't respond to that, but when it does respond to that, you can reopen the browser and usually fine. All right. Jose, do you have any comments or questions to bring today, or are you just here to hang out with us?
He's just showing off his younger self today. And last night on Ken's channel.
All right.
Good picture, by the way, Jose.
Thanks. But yeah, I'm going to just comment about all this process, Doug. It's been complicated situation the way I see it.
What is the complicated situation?
Well, for me, the way I see it, I have a simple mind, so it's complicated to me.
Oh, are you referring to the network stuff that we were just talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it was complicated, and I knew that the way I was presenting it was going to kind of be like drinking from a fire hose to many people in the audience, but it's part of showing what you come across in the job.
I was impressed that you could fix it remotely. I mean, if I'd seen something like that, I would have said, hold on, I'll be there in half an hour.
Yeah. Well, hey, on that topic, let me just throw this out. I don't know. I don't think was Alex in the chat room yet?
I haven't
I
seen
don't
him
think I
yet.
noticed. Yeah, well, perhaps he'll catch the video later because I caught a piece of, I think it was last night on Ken Stout Live, where Alex had somebody that was having a problem with the computer, and the woman was saying that, it sounded like we weren't sure if she was getting what she was getting on screen, whether she was actually getting a message or an audible message.
Yeah, that wasn't clear, and he was getting inconsistent information.
Right. So my habitual response now, anytime I get something like that, I say, take a picture of what you see on the screen, take a picture of the connections on the back of the computer, take a picture of the connections on the back of the monitor, and I'll bet you if Alex saw those pictures, he'd probably be able to.
Well, if he could see it, he wouldn't have a good idea what's going on. He's pretty sharp.
Yeah. I think.
But when he's getting beep codes now, that's another matter.
Yeah, but is that actually what's happening? It sounded kind of likely that there was beeping, but then there was also some kind of message. But I suspect that the message was probably because the monitor was not receiving a signal from the computer. And that's what the woman was interpreting. I think she said something about a cable
that could be
connection.
Sure. And then she wanted a price for everything without him knowing what's wrong.
Right.
Which you really can't do.
Well, he could ask for pictures. The pictures I was describing, and get a better handle on what's going on. Because if he got to the point where he realizes he's going to have to open up the computer, disconnect and reconnect all the components inside, she had bought that computer refurbished or used or something like that, and it never worked for her. So when a computer gets shipped, I've seen it be the case where some connection inside the computer has lost its integrity. Open up the computer. If everything looks like it's connected, just disconnect and reconnect everything. And I've had that solve problems. But it's more likely, if I had to place a bet, I'd say it's more likely that she's plugging into the wrong port. Maybe the motherboard has a VGA connection or a video connection, and it has a display card in the computer, and she's plugging onto the motherboard display connection instead of the display card connection. So if Alex were to see a picture of the back of the computer, he would identify that immediately, I'm sure. So it could be that she's just not connected it properly. All right. Now, let me go catch up with chat. It's usually first right off the bat thing here. Oh, and by the way, this video could get searched by people. So let me, for people who aren't familiar with my channel, this video called Introduction to Microsoft Spyware live stream, and in the description, tell about the Windows Data Viewer, shows what information is being sent to Microsoft about your computer. This live session will show you how to enable the viewer and provide an orientation. Let's make this bigger. And provide an orientation to using the tool and customizations available. The chat room and the Zoom participants will be invited to discuss the issue and ask questions. I'm not an expert in the use of the viewer, but I have explored it a few times over the past few years. When I search on this topic, most of the search results seem to be overhyped rhetoric aimed at getting views rather than looking into the reality of what is being sent to Microsoft. I intend this to be a more balanced exploration of the subject. And this is a subject that I've kind of wanted to explore more. And since there are technical minds that show up for these sessions, both in the chat and in the Zoom session, I thought this could be interesting. So now we'll go catch up with chat. Oh, by the way, so people who searched this video and found it, I intend to do one of those chapter index things so that if you move your mouse down to the playhead on this video, you'll see a notch where you can just drag the playhead forward to that, and that's where we actually start working with that with this topic. And also you can use, I think it's Control right arrow or Windows key right arrow when you're on a video like that, that'll just jump you forward to the next chapter or next index mark. So let's see, I've already said hello to some people in the chat room. Ken's letting us know that he's not going to be here. He's doing something with his mom. And BH Ringer gives us an ASUS BIOS update to enable TPM on hundreds of motherboards. Now it's interesting, does that give you the capability to enable TPM, or does that automatically engage TPM? That difference could be important to people. So hellos to additional people that I haven't already said hello to. Let's see, Tony and Ken Stout and BH Ringer, Darren, Boss, Jonathan. Let's see, Jeff there, Ran Israel, hello, wherever you are. I never did ask for a number, but people are saying AV's good, DVR good. Audio video okay. Hello, Speedy C, Jonathan, Kenny Whidden. The Bronx 9. Lawn Dogs, they're here. Hello to you. Zvi Menor's here. And Lawn Dog again. I don't understand how I can plug my Windows 7 into an Ethernet connection, then use Wi-Fi connection, and the same goes for Windows 10. Maybe you can clarify it. The reason you can do that is that presuming that they get different IP addresses. Your devices need to get different IP addresses. So that technique worked for me yesterday because when I connected remotely to my client's laptop, which was connected by Ethernet to his internet service provider's modem, his laptop Ethernet was getting a public IP address. And then when I used his Wi-Fi, which was connected to a Ubiquiti Unify Wi-Fi access point, which was connected to 2 switches and then to this VPN router, that VPN router has a DHCP server that was different, handing out different IP range of addresses. So anytime you try to browse to something that's available through the Wi-Fi direction, the traffic's going to go that way. When you're trying to browse through something that's available through the internet service provider's modem, in that scenario, it would go through that way. So the 2 devices, the 2 networking devices, have to be using a different IP range of addresses. Ken says he's narrowed it down to bad memory. That sounded like a good plausible thing. Ken is here. The good plausible thing for the woman's computer that Alex was going to work on, or maybe now he has it, but because of the beat codes, memory sounded like a distinct possibility. So I'm going to start looking for question marks and oranges. Q for Doug, quiz for Doug. Just question marks? What's the quiz question? I think he's not quite catching it. And Lawn Dog says, wow, I'm not sure what that was better. Catch up later, always at his mom's. Probably has to do with enabling the direction of TPM built on the motherboard. Maybe there was some kind of bug with enabling the detection for TPM. That had to do with that BIOS update. Dennis is here. Hi, Dennis. The ability, there's the 3 question marks. So the way to get my attention is to hit me in orange by doing the @ symbol, live Windows training. By the time you do LI, you'll pop up my name. You can click on that. That's how you make me show up in orange. But if you do the 3 question marks, I'm trying to find that, to notice that and read those. So BH says, the ability to enable disable PTT, also known as TPM, for boards back as far as 2013. That's what that BIOS update was for. Just to provide the ability to do it. It should not be enabling it by default. It should give you the ability to enable it if you so choose. Hopefully that's what it's doing. And hello, Greg. To all, the ASUS BIOS update was for changing TPM from off to on. They changed the menus and wording in BIOS. So this is implying to me that it actually changes TPM from off to on, meaning it's, you do that update, boom, it's turned on. If that's the way I'm understanding it right. Jim is almost caught up in DVR mode, and hello to Jim. And I think I said hello to Jonathan already. And then Craig and Lawn Dog. I also believe by default, ASUS BIOS, when it comes to TPM settings, by default has it turned off. You have to manually turn it on if you have the capabilities for that function. My new Z590 motherboard had it turned off by default, and it wasn't an issue until Windows 11 came around. So this is making me think that the ASUS BIOS update does not automatically turn it on, just gives you the ability for it for those other motherboards, which makes a whole lot of sense because that makes them able to function better with Windows 11. So let's
yeah, the BIOS update description said that it would let you enable the stuff that was already in the Intel and AMD CPUs, which had TPM capability.
Okay, makes sense. Hello, Jim. For those who aren't watching, Jim has given a visual signal of hello rather than speaking a hello.
Absolutely. Got to keep these people on their toes, damn it.
All right. Make sure they're watching.
That's
and
right.
Not just listening.
That's right. Paying attention.
Yeah. And Jim, let me ask you, how often do you have a live stream running and you're just listening and you're not actually watching?
Not very often.
Oh, really?
No, not very often.
I was pretty sure you were doing that because I do that a lot. I have live streams running in the background while I'm doing other stuff.
It kind of depends on what the live stream is.
All right.
But as a general rule, no, I don't. I actually pay attention to it. If I'm gaming, then I might have a live stream playing at the same time.
All right. Oh, I have not tried doing that. No, when I'm playing Fortnite, my full attention is there because I'm not good enough.
Well, that's as it should be. Fortnite does require that kind of concentration. See, I play games where you don't have to be that concentrated.
Yeah. Now I did play a little hooky yesterday, and I pulled up a Fortnite game, and a client called. I was in Fortnite, so I parked my character in a room and just turned and dealt with my client. And after a while, I see that my character was in the storm and was about to die. I just abandoned it. There's let's see, we got some more comments here in chat. Let's see what's up there. Lawn Dog, that makes sense. And I'm not big on AMD CPUs. I do like them, but I'm going to Intel because the built-in graphics running AMD CPUs makes you have to buy very expensive graphics card.
That's not going to be true. That's not going to be true with, I believe, the AM5s. I think they all have built-in graphics at this point.
Oh, cool. All right.
I can't swear to that absolutely, but I'm pretty sure.
Is that their next upcoming generation?
Yes. That's the 7000 series, yeah.
Okay, great. That's good news because
there are two AMD CPUs that do not require graphics. The 5600G and the 5700G don't require an extra card.
Yeah, I was aware of that, but I like that they're going more down that road. Okay, what else we got here? Intel graphics market comes down. It's not something I'm looking into, but even then, with an Intel chip, you can use either, and that really appeals to me. With the caveat of what Jim just pointed out, is there are some already that have video built into them. That would be great on a new series of AMD chips. That would be awesome. Jeff to Lawn Dog, the higher price graphics cards have dropped some in price, but the lower to mid-range cards like the 3060 I bought haven't changed. Yes, there are a couple of AMD CPUs that have graphics built into them, but only two choices, which is what Jim just said. Okay, so on this topic, gentlemen, of the Diagnostic Data Viewer, have any of you explored into that at all?
No.
Take that as a no. All right. So let's go look into that. I will start with Baby Beast. And I have not yet enabled this on Baby Beast or on Big Beast. I have enabled it on the laptop that I have out in the kitchen. And I'm already connected remotely to it to show what you get when you have a long history of this Diagnostic Data Viewer. So this button here, which I did not test this morning, hopefully that'll work. And my picture-in-picture is just going to be me today because I don't have this change of the zoom set up for that yet. How is that image? That image is kind of blotchy, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's coming over on, that's being broadcast over in my frame on Zoom. Why is that? Oh, I know why. Because that is the connection to the laptop. That is not Baby Beast. There's Baby Beast. That should come through clear because that's going through a capture device, not going through the remote connection through the internet. And let's bring Baby Beast keyboard and mouse over here. Windows key, and then type diagnostic. Now, as I'm typing, you're seeing search results. Right now, it's not showing the results that I want, but on a computer where you've already searched this, it would have popped up by now, most likely. Diagnostic. Still not the one that I want. Data. And there it is, the second one down. Well, even this one, view your diagnostic data and turn on diagnostic data viewer. Either of those will probably get us to the same point. So here I'm clicking on view your diagnostic data, and that brings us into diagnostics and feedback. Here's open diagnostic data viewer down here. Oh, and it is turned on already on Baby Beast. I didn't think I had turned it on yet. Now I'm going to go back the other way. Diagnostic data, down here where it says turn on diagnostic data viewer, that get me to exactly the same screen. Yes, it did, but it gets, this field is active. Got that box around it. And then here would be to open diagnostic data viewer. Now, for comparison, I'm going to come back to Big Beast, because I'm pretty sure I have not turned it on Big Beast. Back in the chat room here, press the Windows key, diagnostic data, and there's turn on diagnostic data viewer. Click on that, and we see that it's off. It is off by default because this is going to use some hard drive space. Turn on this setting to see your diagnostic data. In diagnostic data viewer, setting uses up to 1 GB of hard drive space. That's a little misleading, and you'll see what I mean by that as we get deeper into this. We're back at Baby Beast now, and I'll go into open diagnostic data viewer. And this is, oh yeah, I forgot about this piece. So this is not fully installed on Baby Beast yet. This has taken us to the Microsoft Store to get the diagnostic data viewer. Now, I've already done this on the laptop that's in the kitchen. And when I was reviewing this yesterday and a little bit this morning, I didn't go through this step because I wanted to show the full step of enabling this, and I had totally forgotten about this. So I'm clicking get. There's no cost to it. If there was a cost to it, it would be showing here. So downloading is actually downloading an app. And the app is the Diagnostic Data Viewer. And then here's an open button. So click to open. And then here is the Diagnostic Data Viewer. I'll maximize it. And this is showing all the data that's being sent to Microsoft under the diagnostic data, whether you have the minimal or whether you have the optional setting selected. So here's showing August 20th, 11:27, 14 a.m. And prior to that was at 11:01, 18 a.m. Prior to that was 10:31, 18 a.m. So you see how frequently it's sending something to Microsoft. A lot of these are called heartbeat. The ones that are called heartbeat is basically the same kind of information. It's Microsoft, it's your computer telling Microsoft, I'm still here. Here's basically what's going on with me. How's your day going? And then here's something about kernel power and update core log. And when we go look at the laptop that's in the kitchen, we're going to see some other even more interesting things. Down here is something called Census app. So for each one of these, the information over on this right panel is the specific content that is being sent. And it looks kind of cryptic and scary at first glance, but when you look at it, you can get closer and slower. You can kind of figure out what's going on here. So I'm going to give some descriptions in here of what I have figured out over the multiple times that I've looked at this. So here we've got a couple of features about this screen. Right here we've got software setup and inventory. It kind of looks like a clickable button. And when we're on some of these others, we see a couple different things up here. Device connectivity and configuration and product and service performance. Now, I haven't actually taken an inventory of all the different buttons that show up here, but they look like buttons. I don't believe they are actually buttons because they don't seem to be clickable. I believe what they're doing is they're actually kind of giving you this information below here is basically software setup and inventory information. And when we come down here, this information down here is basically device connectivity and configuration, and it's also product and service performance information. So it's kind of giving you a summary of what this content is. Now that is my deductive reasoning. I didn't go find that explanation in documentation anywhere. I want to come over and say hello to Gary in Zoom and make my adjustment for when I have 5 participants. I now have a button.
Doug.
Hello, Gary. Good to see you. How are you today?
I am doing quite fine.
Good. Glad to hear that. Did you have any comments or anything to bring to the table before we get back on topic?
Well, actually, on topic about the, actually, I got a computer one that everybody will not enjoy, but it's funny. I have driven the new Dodge Charger EV that will come out in a year.
Yeah.
But it's done. It has exhaust tips on it, and it sounds just like the Hellcat. And it is electric.
It's electric. It has tailpipes, and it sounds like a gas engine. So is it doing a computer-generated sound?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I know the company that worked on the sound.
Oh.
Matter of fact, we got paid.
We got paid. Oh, your company worked on the sound. Okay. Yeah. So when you're driving the car, can you flip a switch to turn the sound off?
Yes. Well, no. Yes and no. All electric vehicles have to make a noise because electric vehicles are very quiet, and you could hit a child walking, as you're going down the street, and that's not a joke.
Okay.
It's just like if you stop at a light, your car will make. If you drive an electric vehicle, sole electric vehicle will make no noise. They're just a very little hum. So.
Well, I have seen electrical vehicles driving on the street where I'm a pedestrian, and I don't hear any noise.
You'll hear a little, just a little bit, because it's even quieter.
Yeah, I have had some of them. I've heard more than others. It seems like some are quieter than others, and I think the noise that I heard sounded like tire noise.
Exactly. It is very quiet. But again, you can, that's the idea. Back in the day, they used to have the hood ornaments. The government actually has restrictions on how big your hood ornaments can be nowadays, sticking out like the old Pierce arrows and the Gutenbergs, because you may hit somebody with a curve. But anyway, yes, it does sound nice.
All right.
It's sexy. But it isn't, I don't know if I'd buy it, but it is a nice car. But that's not an ad, but it's the noise in the tailpipes that I like.
Well, that's just hilarious that it's simulating a.
But there is, there's no tailpipes. But if you look at it from 50 feet away, it looks like that's a muscle car.
Oh, did you say there are tailpipes or not?
There are no actual obvious tailpipes, but it looks like it from a distance. But from a distance, you would swear it's got dual exhaust.
All right, gotcha.
So it has to be the car to buy.
All right. All right, very good. All right, I'm going to move along here. Go back to chat. Verizon, cool. Okay, I'm going a little bit quickly through some of these because I'm not seeing question marks and orange. Just a brief look at them. Heartbeat. Yeah, haven't heard that term in a long time. William Dawson, Microsoft's no different than other companies. They all spy one way or another. If it's by a big software log or a log into service, you share information with them. Oh, then that's great. Yeah. So, Lawn Dog, I do enjoy your comments, but you do put a lot of comments in. So I'm going to be going through them kind of quicker and not reading them all out so much. There goes another $2,500 for an upgrade. All right. So coming back to this diagnostic data viewer. So as we're looking through here, the items that are in blue, and again, my deduction is that this stuff in blue isn't actually getting sent to being sent to Microsoft. It's just sending the data. It's not explaining to Microsoft what the data is. So the Microsoft is receiving the data or sending the data and receiving the data in a certain order. So the first piece of information that goes through is this 4.0 for the version number. And then the next one is the name of Microsoft Windows Store Agent, telemetry, install, operation request. So this looks like this, the first piece of information that we caught, that we captured so that we could view it, was the information being sent from this computer to the Microsoft Store about this purchase, a free purchase. And then here the time. So that was the time that that event took place. And then here's some kind of a identification key number. And then an event flag that somehow identifies likely what this event was, perhaps. Page name, flags, epic, sequence number. Yeah, I'm not going to claim to know what all of these are, but you can kind of see things once in a while. That makes sense. Okay, the name was Windows. There's a version number. That makes sense that would be sent. There's an EXP ID, whatever that is. Some of these ID numbers that I've seen in here kind of look like entries that I see in the registry for particular apps. Here's in programming, you can have functions where you have a function name and then within parentheses have multiple arguments. That's what this looks like right here. Exactly what it looks like. Looks like a function named app, a colon, and then here's an opening parenthesis, and then we're probably finding a closing parenthesis. Yeah, here. Is that a parenthesis or a curly bracket? I think it's a curly bracket. And then the first argument within there would be this ID. And then there's a comma. And then the second argument is this ID. And this is text-based because it's within quotes. These are all data structures that are going to look very familiar to anyone who's done some programming work. Then there's a comma. And then the next field. The next field is ASID, and the content of that field is a number. So there's no quotes around it because it's a numeric field. Then we get into the same thing down here, a device, a function called device, and then local ID, and then device class, Windows desktop. Now I'm going to start moving through these things quicker. There's retail. So it was a retail purchase in the Microsoft Store for free. Product ID, and this doesn't scroll down anymore, so that's the end of it. So we got an ending curly bracket here. That would be the closing curly bracket for this opening curly bracket up here. All the rest of this content was all within this function called Microsoft.Windows.StoreAgent.telemetry.install operation request. So on Microsoft side, when they receive this data packet, that comes into them with this function name, and then all of these red function contents and arguments to functions, their software on their end can decode that, categorize that, put that to whatever database that they're interested in, so that Microsoft has that information for whatever uses that they might be using it for. They might be using it to collect statistics, how many computers have installed this. They might be collecting that for computers that have encountered problems or blue screens. How many of these computers that have had a particular blue screen event have had the same combination of other software involved? If they had 35,000 computers that had a blue screen event with some particular ID number, and their diagnostic tools at Microsoft finds, well, gee, every one of those computers had this particular piece of software installed on them. They have nothing else in common amongst all of those computers. Therefore, the Microsoft technicians are going to go look deeper into this app that I just installed to see if it has some kind of a problem, and it was the source of that trouble. Then we move on to this tell client synthetic heartbeat. So that's the function name for this entire piece of information that's being sent at that date in time. And so what is this stuff that they're sending? So we're just kind of scanning through here to see if there's anything there that we can kind of recognize. Here's something called, whoops, didn't mean to scroll there. Something called metadata. I think I hit the space bar on the keyboard. Metadata, privilege tags or privacy tags, previous heartbeat time. So when they're sending a heartbeat, they're giving a notification of when the last heartbeat was sent. So this way, Microsoft will be able to tell that a heartbeat was missed, meaning something went wrong with that computer, or whatever other purpose that they might be looking to see about these heartbeats. And I'm deducing by the word itself that heartbeat is just the computer saying, hey, here, I'm alive, I'm awake, and just checking in. It's Windows calling home. So what information is it sending with that? It's saying that we're using Windows, or using Windows 10.0.1904.1889. So let's look at WinVer, see if that's a match for something that we see in WinVer. Over here it's saying 19.044, that's a match. 1889, and that's a match. So it's sending exactly the information that we see in WinVer. And then EXP ID, EXP, whatever you could think that EXP is an abbreviation for. You see a bunch of FX numbers, or the letters FX over and over, and then hexadecimal number after that. I don't have any idea what that might be. Local ID number, that's probably an ID number of the computer itself. It's a Windows desktop. It's ASUS. System product name, in dev model, it has system product name. Now I would suspect on a HP computer or Dell computer, the device model would be something more informative, but because this is a custom built computer that's built from components, this was built by Kerry Holzman, this is Baby Beast we're looking at, that it has more generic information. And I think that's a piece of information that we would actually see if we were to query WMIC. Okay, I guess I should actually be doing it because it's not that hard. This is something that I do a lot for picking up serial numbers, but WMIC, BIOS, GET, and I commonly use serial number, but you can get other information that gives a big convoluted display of stuff. Let's see, dev model. Okay, so what if I do get dev model? Never tried that. Invalid query. So no, that didn't give me that. Let's take another direction at this. MS info 32. Do we find something in there that says that same text? What was it? System product name. Anything in here? System product name right there. It's the field called system model. So it's sending that piece of information as part of the heartbeat. Then we get down here, it's a retail Windows 10, but I installed, this has the CDK deals, Windows 10, purchased from Kerry Holzman's link, but apparently it gets reported as retail, and Kerry Holzman's described it as gray market, you know, bulk licensing or something like that. I can't be accurate about it. But anyway, that's showing it as retail, it looks like. And then here's some other stuff. Again, previous heartbeat time. So that date and time should be the previous, should be this one right here. So it says 8/20, that matches, and 17/31/18. So right over here, 1731:18. So that time over here, I'm sure is showing as universal time coordinated. And over here, I'm seeing it as Pacific time. I am 7 hours behind during daylight savings time. So that, let's see, 1733. So subtract 7 from that would be 1033. And that's an exact match. 1031. Excuse me. So that's an exact match showing that that's universal time coordinated or Zulu time, whatever you like. Heartbeat sequence number and all this other information. So here's a lot of numeric information. Consumer dropped count says 10. Whatever that means, I don't know. Just take another one at random. Last event size of fender. It sends a null string. There's 2 quotes with nothing in between the quotes. Called a null string. I think that's what it's called. Vortex failures timeout. You know, I'm not seeing anything in here about my credit card number. But there's a lot of very technical detail here that is being sent to Microsoft, which helps them solve problems. I have no problems with the information that would be sent, but this capability is here so that you can view what is being sent to Microsoft. Now, there might be some categories here where you might be a little uncomfortable about what's being sent. So let's go we won't look anymore at heartbeats because they're going to be pretty much the same thing. Here is, I'll look over at the baby bee screen to read that. DGX kernel telemetry GPU adapter inventory. So at 10:01 this morning, it looks like it sent information about my graphics card adapter. Come down here and see all the specific information that was sent. There's a lot of true false in here. Is hardware scheduler enabled? And it says false. So it is getting information about the configuration of my graphics adapter device. A lot of information. Do I care that Microsoft knows that stuff? Not at all. To me, this is all, hey, if that helps them fix problems and make things run more smoother, I'm happy with it. Maybe not everybody is, and those people are probably going to be using Linux.
Now, obviously, Microsoft cares about it because they're asking for it.
Yeah, well, I think they care about it because they want to be able to proactively fix problems that come along and figure out how things are going. Because in the Windows world, we have so many different manufacturers of hardware and software, and so many potential problems that can happen. Now, when Microsoft sees in this data that comes through. This data comes through and there's a problem happening. Microsoft, to the best of my knowledge, and Gary might be a confirmation on this, I think that if it's a large enough problem, they actually reach out to the vendor that they suspect is the source of the trouble and try to work with them to solve the problem. Gary, do you have feedback on that?
Two actually, yes. Your last statement is correct. If you're using the Microsoft Store and actually make Apple iStore, or what they call apps, you're actually agreeing to take the updates from there. So if you have agreed to take the updates for, let's say, your NVIDIA adapter, you could be getting updates there. That's why they're checking a lot of that. So when you sign into the store today, you may get stuff for your sound card in your machine or sound chip today. So yeah, and we even use it for some of our stuff, hardware-wise, for different vendors. Granted, you won't see it because you don't have a hardware, and that's the other thing where we're checking IDs of programs inside. And you can use Microsoft Store, and you won't even see it unless you're authorized on the side of Windows to see it. Okay, so that's why a lot of it gets sent there. I mean, it's not sent. Not all of it's being collected in a big database someplace. A lot of it's so they know what to send you right back. And just like if you're buying something, let's say you're updating your Windows to Windows Pro. Through the store, which you can. What if you already bought it? If they don't check, you may get charged twice for it, and you would not be a happy camper.
Oh,
a lot of that stuff they're being sent, you may already have a valid 365 license or something, which you can buy through the store. So just throwing that out, a lot of the stuff that's being sent, they're checking what you have to make sure you don't get billed a second time.
okay.
I know people are suspect about that, but it saves them a lot of trouble in the end.
Okay. Let me ask you on something that you mentioned there to see if I understood you right. Are you saying that because I connected to the store and did one thing with it, that I might now be getting updates for other stuff that I didn't really realize that action was enabling?
It isn't, yes. Short answer, yes. Long answer
Okay.
is a lot of the people are using it now. Intel uses it for some of their stuff. NVIDIA, Adobe. You have a licensed product and you go there and sit all day, you will get updates.
All right. So for products that I have purchased otherwise and perhaps was getting updates through other means, now that I'm connected with the store, I may be getting my updates through there rather than those other means, which would be...
Well, you'll get it both places or whatever's current.
Places. Okay.
So in other words, let's say you haven't got an update from NVIDIA for 3 months and you go here, you could possibly get the update here. In other words, brought current is possible.
Yeah.
So if you have a beta version that's more current, you will not get the current version from store. If you have an old version, you'll get current.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So you have to know how it's set up before you use it. You know, I mean, it's set up to do that, but you can opt out of a lot of things. But
all right,
that's why if you ever set onto your big beast and baby beast, have you ever had something popped up? Do you need to restart because some sound driver got updated? And you're like, why? That's
no, the only prompts for restarting I've had were related to the Windows update icon.
Every once in a while you get one if you watch, and not you know, maybe once every 2 months if you see it. No big deal.
Okay.
But
all right.
Be careful.
All right. Let me move on here. I'm going to come back over here to chat. And Lundog puts a lot of comments in because I'm participating. Please don't misunderstand me. I was not complaining. I like your comments. And I go back and read through them more later. But if I kind of breeze over them when I'm trying to get through something, please don't feel discouraged. I like your comments. Now, similar to closed pinning trading cards on spokes of, okay, unless you produce power, I'm going to go to the oranges and the question marks. It appears to be JSON data set, makes sense. WMIC BIOS list brief. Okay, that's a way to get that. I want to see that. Let's go, back here to Baby Beast, get back to the DOS command prompt, and let's see, WMIC BIOS list brief. Did I do something wrong there? WMIC BIOS list brief. WMIC BIOS list brief. Yeah, I typed it right. I'm not sure what you expected that. Let's see, manufacturer, American Megatrends, name 1301, serial number, system serial number, because there isn't a serial number on this custom computer in the BIOS version. So that's what brief does, is it just gives that information. I thought it was going to give all the information in an easier to view a method. Zvi, don't want to be a conspirator, but the viewer is a Microsoft app, and they show you what they want you to see only. Yeah, I questioned that too, Zvi. And my next notion on that, if I were concerned about that, is I'm curious to use process monitor and use the network tab and not filter any network content, so that I could see what address those are all going to, and then see all the packets that are going there, and then look at the content and see if I can correlate that content to what the Diagnostic Data Viewer is telling me. I suspect that I might not be able to correlate it, maybe be it based on the date and time reports, but I'm suspecting that I won't be able to see the content because I'm expecting that should be encrypted when it's sent through the network. Although with process monitor, it might capture that data before it's encrypted. I don't know. The other thing I was wondering is with monitoring the network activity with I'm trying to remember the name of the app where you can track all the packets that are going through your network and monitor those packets from there and see if they can be correlated with all the capabilities that white hat hackers. Yeah, you know, people that are looking for bugs, all their capabilities that they go digging into the system. It seems like if Microsoft was concealing something there, that it would get exposed because there's too many people in the mix for them to all be conspirators. And when Microsoft sends a directive down from some executive level to their engineers, programmers to do something, for them to tell them, instruct them to let the users see part of the data, but don't let them see that we're gathering this information. To be able to get those subordinates on multiple different teams, or they have the number of employees that they have, to get them all to conspire and keep that a secret and not be a whistleblower, I'll tell you what, you got to have a lot of faith to believe that they can pull that off. So, I kind of feel pretty comfortable that they're probably not going to be able to get away with concealing what they're showing us. But I had the same thought. It's a legitimate concern. And, you know, there's been companies before that have gotten exposed that they were doing bad stuff. But that just doesn't make sense to me that that'd be the place they'd be doing it. The fact that manufacturers are putting their updates to some extent in Microsoft Store is something I noticed, especially Intel. This is something I'm keeping an eye on to see what develops using this method of updating. It seems to be more marketing of software, but we'll see what evolves. Wireshark, that was it, Lawn Dog, thank you. Wireshark is the tool, and I've used it. I have a fair amount of experience with it, but I also kind of hack my way through it to be able to figure out what traffic is going through the network, what's going out to the internet. To maybe verify your findings that Microsoft is doing it the way you're, just to keep them honest. Yeah, I really think that they would be difficult for them to prevent that. If you prefer WMIC BIOS list full, let's try that. WMIC BIOS list full. Yeah, that gives it an easier. And I know now that I've seen this, I know that I have seen this before, and this is telling you everything that is accessible through WMIC contained in BIOS. I'm going to make this bigger. Coming up here and go to Properties, and then the Font tab, and then go up to, let's see, 28 might be too big. 24 font. That should make it visible through the video. Go a little bit higher because I haven't filled the screen yet with it. So this is all the information contained in BIOS that you can query just from a DOS prompt. So you don't have to restart the computer and go look at that. Is there anything there that we really care about? Primary BIOS. So on I suspect, on a motherboard that has 2 BIOS chips, you could tell whether it's operating on the primary BIOS. I'm guessing that's what that means. In serial number, I do this a lot with Dell and HP computers or Lenovo. It'll actually give me the serial number so I can go find the drivers on their website. Gives me the BIOS version, major BIOS version, minor BIOS version, software element status okay, version Alaska. I don't know why I got Alaska in there. Yeah, and I'm not seeing UEFI mode. I would think that this should tell us whether it's in legacy or UEFI mode. Of course, this computer, yeah, it does have a legacy mode. All right, now, coming back to chat. I don't expect any mischievous behavior on Microsoft's part, but it may also find things you assume are being sent and maybe they're not. That could be. Doug, could you in the future talk about Wireshark and give us what you've learned? Yes, I'm very interested in doing about that. That's always been on my list back here somewhere of things to do, talk about. And anything you know, even if you're still trying to figure it out. Yeah, I think I've figured out plenty of stuff that would be useful to do. That would probably come out in Windows Daily series. It's just something that might help produce a podcast that can convey some information about some software and its usage. And by the way, this topic today and Wireshark, I found it very frustrating to find the level of instructional content that I've wanted to have from those. Like for Wireshark, I've seen content that says, well, you can do this, this, and this if you want to do this, but why would I want to do that? And I don't get those explanations. Here's some useful things to do with Wireshark. I don't get that. They say, if you want to do X, Y, Z, here's how to do it. But they don't talk about why I might want to do that or what it's useful for. Your cell phone tells the same a lot more every time you use an app or just make a call. Yes, cell phones, I believe, have that capability. There's that capability in cell phone operating systems to see what they are sending. Now, this capability in the Windows Diagnostic Viewer, Microsoft made this Diagnostic Data Viewer available to us in a Windows 10, I think it was a feature update around 2017, 2018, something like that, in a particular version. It's easy to find that. Don't really care about what the date is. But prior to that, the information was being sent. We just didn't have this tool to be able to look at that content. Now let's go look at something else. I think I already looked at Tell Client, wrong mouse. So look at something else here, a different header. Microsoft Windows kernel power, operating system state change. So this sounds to me like it was a operating system state change from on to off or from on to restart, something like that. Are they seeing when I restart my computer? My guess is yes. I think that would be useful information for them. Look, scanning through here, kernel power, key, win, state duration, 5, boot time, 9, uptime, delta, total duration, total uptime, energy change, boot ID number. Here's a name, here's a version number, and another one of those EXP ID, whatever that is, and app, SVC host. We know that's an app that is used to support a lot of functions on Windows computers. Windows Desktop, system product name, ASUS, retail, data. So here's state transition. So whatever state transition 5 is, it's probably Googleable. State transition, what is state transition space 5? And a Google search might tell you what that is. I don't care enough to go look at that. If somebody wants to go tell us in chat, fine. Here's a boot time. This is very clear what that boot time is. And it's giving us the 2301, let's see, August 11th. And then looks like T, I would presume for time, 2301 would be the universal time coordinated. Subtract 7 hours from that and you would get the actual AM, PM local time for me. Uptime, last state transition, kind of jumping through these. Battery capacity. It says battery capacity 0. That battery is bad on that computer. If I unplug it from the wall, it will just die. Is that battery capacity? Does Microsoft know how much charge I have on the battery? Battery charge 0. It'll hold a little bit of charge, but it won't run off of that battery. The battery level indicator in the notification area, it will show some charge, but it doesn't hold a charge. AC power line is plugged in. Battery discharging. The battery is not discharging because that computer never runs on battery. Then Edge update. So here's stuff that's being sent about your Microsoft Edge updates. And then here's another power policy. It's not another one. It's power, but it's power policy, consolidated power policy. So this is probably going to have information about how I have my power settings configured on the computer. Why does Microsoft want to know about this? Well, if there's some blue screen problems happening or some other kind of conflicts, if their diagnostic tools sorts through all the data and finds all the computers that are having this particular problem have these settings in common. So that would be a valid reason for them to want to know how are your power settings set. Now, I think a comment that Gary alluded to, or a point that Gary alluded to, is that not all of this stuff is stored in a long-term database at Microsoft. It could be that some of this stuff, or all of it, is discarded shortly after it arrives at Microsoft if Microsoft doesn't have a reason to pay the money that they have to pay for storage space to start collecting stuff. If they see this computer's reporting blue screen, so okay, we're going to start saving the data that's coming in from this computer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Gary knows that level of detail. I don't really care. But it's likely that they're not keeping all this data for any significant amount of time because storage space costs money. This is a lot of data that's going. What are we having? At least every half hour, it looks like. Sometimes a few, here's a sequence of events: 737, 738, 738, 738. 4 different sets of item being sent. And it's likely that things are being sent more often when I'm actually using the computer. Here's, let's see, Microsoft Edge Update Catalog. We already mentioned that. There's more heartbeats. Microsoft Windows Inventory, General Inventory, Miscellaneous, UUP, Info, Add. More stuff. I'm not going to go through the detail of that. Here's one called Census app. Census, every 10 years we do a census across the country, right? Get detailed information about everybody who lives here. So this kind of sounds like it might be more broad-based gathering of information. I don't know. Page name, WinCore, Epic, Census version. So Census version 5 apparently. Appraiser run start timestamp and run end timestamp. So the start and ending time was the same. Task exit code would be indicating that any task that runs when it ends can issue an exit code to tell what state it ended in. Did it complete successfully? Did it complete with some kind of errors? Did it complete with some kind of a particular state that we want to inform home about? The detail of that, I don't know what it is. It might be Googleable. I think I just enjoy saying the word Googleable. I don't know. Here's the name of this function, operating system, the name of the operating system, Windows, the version number, and this FX again. Same information we've seen before. It's been sent before. Why are we sending it again? Well, because now it's being sent within the context of this census app. Again, let me say that this is all deduction, and I haven't pre-looked at these. We're going through these on the fly. Here's something called app, and this is an ID number for that app, a version number for that app, and ASID, whatever that might be. And that app function had an opening curly bracket here and a closing curly bracket. So we're finished with that function called app. Now here's a function called device. There's an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. Each of these items within there are arguments to that function. Their arguments are separated by a comma. So this is a string argument, and this is another string argument. Now, I said previously that I suspected that the blue isn't being actually sent to Microsoft? It might be, because that identifies this function. Yeah, I would think that this probably is being sent because it identifies that function. However, on the receiving side, we know that this function called device, the first argument must be local ID. So they don't have to send that because they could just be sending the content, the data of this first argument. It could just be sending this. So if we were to use Wireshark, for instance, and search in a packet for this numerical sequence, we might be able to find it, and we might be able to find that the information surrounding it does not include local ID, but it does include device. Although the word device might not be included because Microsoft is expecting what is this? Maybe the fourth argument within this census app of data that's being sent. So it could be that the word device is not actually being sent as that argument name, and we could validate that or verify that by looking at Process Monitor or Wireshark to actually look at the data packets if they're not encrypted at that point. Protocol, ASUS, product name, local ID, retail, again, stuff that we've seen before. I'm already scrolled to the bottom. Down here is data. So we have all of this stuff up here. I think this is all in metadata. Let's see, that's an opening bracket for metadata. There's open, close, and close. All right, so that close, curly bracket, belongs to metadata. So metadata isn't for all of this. What is, let's see, ext. That looks like all of this item included within X. So there's an open, open, close, open, open, close, close, open, 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 close. I just know Ken Stout is going to mimic me on this. Open, close, and then, so if we count all those open closes, I think we would find that this close down here belongs to this open. And then this close right here belongs to this open. So all of this content through here belongs to the function called ext. And this part down here is the last argument of that ext function, and it's called data. So that kind of sounds like this is the really important stuff. This is what this whole census app was targeted to get us to. A census version number, an appraiser enterprise error code, an appraiser error code. Appraiser run is progress or crashed. They're wanting to know if it was in progress or crashed. And the data for that is this long number. Somehow that tells them that it was in progress or crashed. Appraiser run start time stamp. So that is some form of coding of the start time. In Excel, for instance, if you do a date time field, it'll have a code number, a long code number referencing that date time that starts at 0 from 1900, I think. In the older versions of Excel, I think in newer versions of Excel, they start at 1980, I think. But so this could be a date serial number that we would not be able to decode without knowing what their starting date time stamp is. And then here we have a run end time stamp. And if we did the subtraction between those two numbers, we would probably get the elapsed time. Appraiser task enabled, appraiser task exit code. That's going to be giving a clue as to the state of that task when it finished. Appraiser task last run. So this is giving us a readable, human readable date and timestamp of when this was last run. And it's telling us there August 20th at 3:10:46. So if we look down through here for the census app, I suspect that we would find a correlation to that date time stamp. So I'm just scrolling down here looking for census. And I probably could find it easier and quicker if I paid attention to that date time. It's August 20th. Oh, I'm past August 20th. All right, so let's get back up to August 20th on the left-hand side here. And then 0310. Here's 0310. 46. So yeah, I'm not seeing a task here item called census app. So when it's saying this appraiser task last run, that would imply to me that that's not limited to the census report, but it's an appraiser task run. So if we go look at 31046, which looks like it might be around here. Well, these are called appraiser. Look at that, appraiser. So this task probably includes that appraiser task somehow in here. Or maybe it's just this parent function itself, appraiser general. I'm not going to beat that over the coals. Let's go look at some other stuff. Tell client synthetic, we've seen that. Inventory core appraiser, inventory indicators checksum, Windows appraiser general checksum total picture account. I mean, you could very quickly put lots of people to sleep with this stuff, right? We've been the alarmists in the tech community or on the fringes of the tech community will throw their arms up about, you know, all this stuff that's being sent to Microsoft from your computer, privacy invasion. Look, they're showing us here what it is, and my opinion, it's an opinion, it's a deduction. It's very difficult for Microsoft to be sending information that is really, you know, juicy and embarrassing or something like that. And who's on the other end looking at that stuff? My gosh, are you kidding me? Anybody working for Microsoft, if they were browsing through this stuff at random, trying to find what? Incriminating information out of here? Out of somebody's computer? Now, there is potentially exposure and risk. And Microsoft has published this information. For instance, when you get a blue screen of death and you get this message that's collecting information to be sent, and then it gives you a button to click on to either send it or don't send it. If you send it, are you possibly sending in sensitive information? And for instance, people who deal with encryption, if you have recently entered a private encryption key, it is possible that that private encryption key is contained within that data dump that is being collected to be sent to Microsoft, so that the engineers can look through that information and try to figure out what went wrong. Or if you recently dealt with a private encryption key and it's contained within the computer's memory at that time, and it gets into that dump and it gets sent to Microsoft, then you've sent potentially your private encryption key. Now, who's on the other end that would pay attention to the fact that that is there and then do something with criminal intent about that? Being a Microsoft employee, yeah, it's probably a pretty high risk. And then what can they get from that? Well, they might be able to figure out how to get into your encrypted data. And then what is your data that's there? Who are you? So yeah, it's possible. It takes a lot of conditions to be met and a high level of motivation for somebody to do something with that. Now, what would a hacker do? A black hat hacker do with this information? they could try to get something to your computer that's going to crash it. And they would be particularly interested in knowing, in doing that, if they know you are the type of person who always sends that data to Microsoft. And they know that you are the type of person that has sensitive data that they want to get to. So they want to send some kind of infection or something, get your computer infected somehow in some way that's going to trigger a crash that you would send that data, and they would have to be in a position to capture the data packets that are being sent from your computer to Microsoft. Still a pretty difficult thing to accomplish. So possible. Let's come over and catch up in chat. Coming back here to my last highlighted item, cell phone, 10 seconds. Yeah, looking for orange and question marks. Ran Israel, to make reading easier, you can export save data and open it in a JSON viewer. That would be for the WMIC data from BIOS. And I don't have the motivation to want to go down that road. Looking for question marks and orange, and nope. So I'm going to say I'm caught up. I'm going to go look at some more of Long Dog stuff, because I do enjoy Long Dog's content. Looking for Leo Laporte has finally, looking for Leo Laporte has finally, after all these years, started to see the light about what is called innocuous data collection. He no longer is totally on board with that concept. Yeah, that's kind of what I was just describing, and I think I've seen him talking along those lines. I'm a longtime participant in this show. Right now, I'm watching it on my other machine. Of course, I participate in chat. It's been a revelation to have Leo change his views. I've seen him change his views on a few things, and I've had points where I really appreciate his views, and other times where I disagree with him. But you know, technician is a technician is a technician. We're never going to agree with each other completely. That's between those two. I'm not going to read it. A lot of this information gathered is to see things about usage of the machine, which I guess are somewhat entitled to, but in a data analysis person who's a professional who knows what they can develop from all that information. The same goes with your smart meter for your electricity and potentially your gas meter. They are going electronic. Also, that information can be used to tell that you are home. If there was an agency who was interested in that, possibly there are many other instances where gathered innocuous data has usage to agencies, but we're not here to discuss that. Now, along those same lines, when you go to the grocery store, the clerk behind the counter could collect information about you that they could use in dishonorable ways. Even from the foods that you're purchasing, the credit card that you're using, the cell phone that you have, the conversation you're having on the phone. Evil-minded people can get information about you from lots of different sources. Yes, it's there for in the computers. So, yeah, I'm just throwing out there to ponder and monitor. Yeah, there are things that could be done there. I feel that I am exposed. I am at risk as an individual when I use my computer, when I use Microsoft Windows, when I get out of bed, when I walk out my front door, when I drive a car on the streets, when I go into a public space. There's lots of places where I'm exposed and vulnerable. And you have to decide, where are you comfortable and okay with being vulnerable, and to what degree? Ran Israel, no, I meant the Microsoft Viewer data. Okay, he's making reference to something previously to make reading. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, I do remember that. I do remember it. And there very well could be some other tools and utilities that are either free or for a subscription that will take this data and present the data that people care about and make it easier to filter. I wouldn't be at all surprised about that. I would expect that there are those. I have not gone looking for them. William Dawson, Doug, I agree that anything is possible, but you are worth the amount of work to get it. Doug, I agree that anything is possible, but are you worth the amount of work to, yeah, there, bingo. Am I a significant enough of a target for a black hat hacker to come after me? I don't think so. I think there's a lot other people that are far more interesting targets for a highly skilled black hat hacker who's willing to put the time and effort into targeting an individual. They want to go after somebody who's going to be worth it. Back in the day, in the earlier days, the highest level skilled evil intent hackers we had were going after lower dollar amounts. And what I'm referencing in particular as an example is a client of mine in a law office who got hit with the very first instance that I was ever aware of ransomware. I did not know ransomware existed until this client got hit with it. The ransomware evildoers, I'm not sure what year, it was a long time ago, before I was seeing it in press, they were after $800. They wanted $800 to unencrypt. And at that point in time, they had encrypted not only our data on the server, but also our data on the backups of the external drives that were at that point in time connected to the server. They were after $800. These days, the ransoms are much, much higher because they're more skilled, they put more energy into it, and they know what they can get out of it. In the early days, they weren't getting that much. All right, continuing here. Question marks in orange. Randy Israel, for example, JSONformatter.org f/JSON viewer. Yeah, that's beyond my level of interest to pursue that. Lawn Dog, yes, the very highly educated hacker won't spend time, generally speaking, going after you, but what about the guys that are learning and need to practice? And more worrisome is the availability of these tools to do these things. Good point, good point. And I've thought this through too. What about the people who are learning how to hack, learning how to be a pen tester? They want to become a pen tester. There are free tools available. There are free learnings available. You can easily find free content on YouTube, people teaching how to learn hacking. Let's see, I'm thinking Chuck. What's the rest of his channel's name? Network Chuck. He does a lot of that. Encouraging people to learn how to hack. And, but he does point out, hey, you got to do this the right way, the safe way. If you cross the line, you could get in trouble with the law. If you go to this extent, if you do it this way, that's illegal. Don't do that. Go over here where somebody has set up a place where they've given permission for you to hack their systems. There are places, there are computers and networks that have set up particular environments that you're allowed to hack into so that you can learn how to do that. The penalties for crossing the line and doing this illegally are getting higher and higher, and law enforcement agencies are getting more and more aggressive about going after them. So the black hat hackers who are learning how to do it, people who are learning how to hack, and their intent is to pursue illegal gains, could they be trying it out on me? Well, when they do that, or someone else, when they do that and they actually accomplish theft, well, now they're prosecutable. And because they're only learning how to do it, there's a significant degree of possibility that they're going to get caught because they're not skillful enough for how to cover their tracks well. So that's where my thoughts go on that topic. But hey, my credit card can get hacked over the internet, or a service provider that I use can get hacked. A clerk at a grocery store could have one of those electronic readers. If I have a radio thing, radio credit card to pick up the information for my credit card. There's lots of ways we're vulnerable.
Hey, Doug?
Yes.
How often do you hand the card to the person behind the counter at the Speedway or whatnot instead of using the tank outside? You know?
Well, at the gas stations, I always use it out at the pump. But if I'm at a grocery store, I can be using it there. What's the possibility that they have one of those scanning devices right under the counter at the credit card terminal that can read the RFID? Is that the right acronym? Yep. From the card. Because I think that's what those devices do, is they just have to get close enough to the card and they can read the data from the card. So there's, when you go to one of those credit card devices at the grocery store, there's other displays of things to purchase. Could they have a little display panel of bubble gum right next to the card reader, and inside the base of that display, they've got a device that can read my credit card. Now, of course, they have to conceal that from their coworkers, so that makes it. But you can do that. That's conceivable.
Yeah, but even I mean, if you go into a store, that's the reason I said store, is they can have their own little phone recording, and you pass your card over the phone, they still read your numbers.
Oh, sure.
Possibly. I mean,
oh, sure.
A little lower tech, but on your computer, you probably don't have your Social Security number in some place labeled Social Security. Your credit card is probably not stored too many places where it's credit card number. Might be in your browser, but I mean, short of your browser, if I get on your computer, there's not a lot that can incriminate you. The big things on your computer that I worry about, and I mean, I don't personally worry about it, is, letter to the editor saying how you want to kill everybody, or the pictures of your 2-year-old that you were doing bad things to. I mean, short of that, on your computer, what do you really have that, I mean, client data maybe, but on a personal computer, what does the average person have that you don't care anybody sees? I mean,
and that's one of the.
I was just going to say, there's nothing on my. I apologize. Let me this sentence. Nothing on my computer that, short of business, that you can sit down and I don't care if you see. I mean, like I said, Social Security number's not there. My credit card number is only in one place and it's encrypted. So go at it. I mean, you give more away on a daily. I mean, when you transfer your car tomorrow, Monday, you're going to tell them how much you borrowed. They're going to say, "My God, you can afford a Tesla." I know DougBetts, Tesla, and they have your loan number. They call up and they want to, they have a question at the bank about your loan. They get your Social Security number. They can now get you anything they want on you. If they get on your computer, what do they got? They're going to have to hunt for 4 hours to find something that really works, unless you have something illegal on your computer. That was my statement. I mean, people worry about it, but you're not seeing anything that's worthwhile most of the time.
Yeah, the people that have the most to worry are the ones that really are somehow living badly.
Exactly.
Or have bad intent. Yeah. All right. I think I'm just going to finish up on another round of, there are other things in the data viewer that I still have more to get to. So I'm going to skip for a little bit more quickly. And by the way, Lone Dog, I'm with you on Windows Weekly and Security Now, and I am a member of the, what do they call it? Whatever their monthly subscription thing is. Then here, Jonathan gives us the term ethical hacking. Yeah, and the $50 deductible. Yeah, when you get fraud on your credit card, it's very often recoverable easily. You just call and say, hey, that charge was fraudulent, and give you the money back. Credit cards, how often do you hand to the waitress? Goes away, makes it. Yeah, you actually hand a card and they go away with it, right? Gary, that's for you. And you use the word average person. We live in a world where everything is computer-centric, includes business lawyers, so they need to be protected just as much as the common users, same actions, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, I need to get on to some settings in here about, you got the idea about looking through this. Let's move on to some other things. What we've been in here is diagnostic data problem reports. So this is problem reports where there's actually been a problem on your computer and that information has been sent to Microsoft. So this can be a source of troubleshooting information on your computer when you're
Doug, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
All
We're
right.
talking about this whole subject is about things your computer can send on you. My wife and I, and actually, it's something that I know intimately from work. Your car. If you have warranty work on your car, and you have a bad engine, you have an engine problem in your car, if it's less than 4 years old, it has high speed and driving habits. So if you've been 165 on a freeway, depending upon your car, you have blown the warranty quite possibly. And it is recorded, and the date and the time. And lockups, near accidents, that's all recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, there's insurance companies that used to do that to give you better driving rates. The problem is your car's already been doing that for you. So like, if you do a lot of panic stops, slam those brakes as hard as possible, your car knows. Now I worry more about that than I do about anything on my computer, because I might drive fast once in a while. Right. And I go and say my engine's blown. They're going to say, Gary, that engine went, never mind, and argue that there's no warranty on that engine.
Yeah.
But that is being kept track of, just like your health with your insurance company.
Okay. I need to move on, Gary. You
No
can
problem.
go on all day long with this stuff. Can I go on, please? All right, thank you. All right. The deductible cards. Okay, so then I was going back to here. Lost my train of thought here. Problem report. So looking at what information you're going to get about problems that you're having on your computer. So there's a Dell. It's not a Dell computer. ADELRCP, Dynamic Link Library. Oh, that has to do with Adobe Acrobat. Report sent, stopped working, gives me a date and time. So if you're having a problem with your computer and you come back and look in here, it might give you a clue as to what on your computer was causing the trouble. Here's a COM surrogate, stopped responding and was closed. That gives us that detail, but mainly I think here the thing you'd be interested in is the date and time, if that correlates with a time when you're having a problem with your computer. Desktop window manager, black screen, user reported, report sent. Now, what are the dates and times showing on this? Because I'm not remembering that I was having. Oh, these are 2021 and then 2022. And then here, diagnostic troubleshooting wizard. So I think that I probably ran that wizard then. Here's some handy backup issues from May of 2021, saying stopped working. And then here's some other handy backup stuff. This is on Baby Beast. May 2021. I didn't have Baby Beast then. This was before I bought Baby Beast, Big Beast and Baby Beast build from Kerry Holzman. These are showing 2021 because remember, Baby Beast, I successfully restored an image from my prior computer. So this is a report from my prior computer that had this image. That's why I'm not remembering that. I was having trouble. I don't think I ever had handy backup installed on Baby Beast, except that it was a restored image. So it could be instant house call, a couple of stopped working instances for that. LMI, which is Log Me In Rescue, gives the name of the app, stopped responding, was closed. So seeing a lot of information here about problem reports. Down here, these are specifically Windows, shut down unexpectedly. August 3rd, 2022, May 18th, 2022. Okay, so just the point I want to get to here is what we were looking at previously was diagnostic data being sent to Microsoft. Here's problem reports being sent to Microsoft. And here about your data size history. So right now I'm using 258 megabytes of space for the data that I've selected to keep. Oldest data point says July 21st, 2022. That's a lie because we just saw 2021. And this is diagnostic data. So I guess that means in the diagnostic data, my oldest is that July 21st data. Come all the way down here to the bottom. Oh, this is refreshing over and over. As I drag it down, that scroll box keeps going up because there's so much here. And I'm only down to August. So that's going to take a while to get all the way down there. So let's go continuing on this. Oldest data point, average events sent per day, 334 events sent per day on average. Current diagnostic data setting is optional. So I have on Baby Beast selected optional data. I couldn't have told you off the top of my head. I'm not really too concerned about minimal diagnostic data or optional data. So I have speculated or been curious about, for instance, on the HP All-in-One, I could restore the state of that computer at fresh Windows 10 install, adjust the report setting to be required data only, and then give that a few days running and see how much reports are sent, and then change the setting to optional data, and then let that run for a few days and compare how much more data is being sent when you actually select optional. And we could actually see what is the difference, because we can go look at the diagnostic data and see what items are being sent under minimal data and what is being sent under when you've selected optional. Problem reports created in the last 30 days. 5 problem reports on Baby Beast in the last 30 days. Top applications sending data. Microsoft Edge, 378 kilobytes. Unknown. Well, that's interesting. Unknown applications, 242 kilobytes. Windows Update Client, 140 kilobytes. SIH Client, I can't recall offhand what that is, 129 kilobytes. Delivery Optimization Management, 121 kilobytes. So I would think that was Windows Update Delivery Optimization Management, but I'm not sure. This is a little weird here, the way these 3 categories are aligned, and it's for this blue bar graph and down here. I'm going to turn off picture-in-picture for a moment. So what this is showing, product and service performance, 5,817 events related to here. Software setup and inventory, this is how much is being sent. Device connectivity and configuration, 3,635 events. Product and service usage, 1,468 events. And then up here, browsing history. So this is just trying to give us a graphic representation of the total stuff being sent out. This is how those items are broke down. Right? And then this drop-down box up here is all data sources. If we just select Windows data sources, we get a different presentation of information. If we just choose Microsoft Edge, we get more specifics about the Microsoft Edge information. So this up here, all data sources, should be everything that's being sent out from all data sources. Here's what it is. Now, could it be that there is applications on your computer send data to their home base that doesn't get included in the Diagnostic Data Viewer, because perhaps Diagnostic Data Viewer is just the stuff that is being sent by Windows to Microsoft? I don't really know the answer to that. I want to go down and explore settings, but before I do that, let's go say hello to Chris. Hello, Chris. Am I going to get a verbal hello from Chris? Yeah, you're muted, Chris.
I fell asleep. That's why I'm late.
Did you have a good nap?
I did.
All right. Did you have anything to bring to the conversation or question, or can I move on?
You can move on.
All right. Thank you. Coming back to Baby Beast. Let's go look at this settings gear. So here, Windows data settings, storage size capacity, the maximum amount of space used to maintain your diagnostic data history. When I went into that screen to turn on, at the beginning of this segment, to turn on the diagnostic data, it said that it can store it can use up to 1 gigabyte of space. But I can change that. If I want more history, I could boost that up. Do I need to? Let's go back here to about your data from all data sources. Data history size right now is 258 megabytes. And my maximum allowed is 1 gigabyte. So once the data goes up to 1 gigabyte, then it's going to start dropping off data that's old. The maximum duration of time a data record will be kept, 30 days. Well, we saw stuff that was more than 30 days old. So I don't have an explanation for that. I'm going to say that that must be some category of information within what we've been looking at that gets limited to 30 days. But we did see, let's see, where did we see that? Oldest data point. So that's about 30 days. Oldest data point, yeah. That's just under 30, well, under 30 days. Well, July had 31 days, so maybe that's exactly 30 days for the diagnostic data. So what that tells me is that this setting is for the diagnostic data, 30 days. So that does match. Office data setting. This setting allows you to view diagnostic data from Office apps on this device or from a remote device. That was an interesting phrase. I did come across that, is that you can, Office diagnostic data viewing is off from Microsoft Office. So that's Microsoft Word and Excel. I'm currently turned off. So we weren't even seeing that. So I'm going to turn that on and look at that. It gave us off a new category here. Remove Office diagnostic data history and remote Office diagnostic data viewing is off. So if I want to be able to view that remotely, like if I was on a corporate network and I want to be able to review remotely, I might be interested in turning that on. And then there's a port to connect through and an Office connection string. So that means from another computer in the office, this would be the local IP address of BabyBeast. And if I go to a browser on another computer that's on the same network and put in this address in the URL instead of a website address, that would allow me to connect to BabyBeast and see the Office diagnostic data remotely. I'm deducing that. Obviously, I haven't tried it because you're seeing me discover that as we're going through here. That's part of the reason I want to start a YouTube channel, so I could justify exploring these things, because this is not justified to explore this for my client's benefit. Not at all. Here's the Diagnostic Data Viewer version number, privacy dashboard, and privacy settings for the Diagnostic Data Viewer. So come in here, sign in with a Microsoft account, and it looks like I can change some privacy settings for that. I'm not going to go further down that road because we're kind of getting about as much time that I think we can on this. Diagnostics and feedback. So here's where I have optional set. So this is where I could make changes to those settings. I don't have to do it from, you can get into your privacy settings just by doing, Windows key, and then I think type privacy. Yeah. And then you get a search result of privacy settings, and that'll get you into here where you can make changes for all these different privacy settings, all this stuff down here. These changes you could make to your privacy settings. In this section down here, it has to do with privacy settings for apps on your device. And that scrolls down, way down. Lots of stuff here that you can do related to privacy. Have I lost the diagnostic? Oh, here's Diagnostic Data Viewer. Then let's get over here to this Office Diagnostics. No diagnostic events had been recorded. So from the time that I turned this on, which was just a couple minutes ago, there's nothing that's been recorded for diagnostic stuff. Okay? All right. I think I'm ready to call that out or wrap on that topic, because I just been talking a blue streak here. coming back up in chat. Do I have highlighted where I was at? I think there's JSON. I didn't triple click where I left off. Let's see. That piece, ethical hacking. Chris letting us know that he fell asleep. So that's about the place that I finished. So looking for question marks in orange. Question marks in orange. Okay. Yep, I think I'm going to call that caught up. I will go back. I routinely go back and read closer at the comments that I've skipped over. I'm going to come back to Zoom. We got 6 people there, so I pressed button number 6 and my frame is positioned right. So we've been almost 2 hours here. I'm about ready to wrap this up unless there's questions in the Zoom panel or in chat. Zoom panel, any comments? Gary, I hope I wasn't too abrupt at cutting you off there, but I wanted to stay on this topic. There's Gary unmuted. Go ahead, Gary.
I was just saying, no problem. No, you're right.
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, you know, but
yeah, your comments were valid and worth getting out there, but I just didn't want to go off on that trail much further. Say again?
No, I agree. A lot of the things, you know, people worry about Windows, so it, like you said, makes sense when you send it, but people get too offhanded. Windows are at least the worries in the world with people. Should be.
Yeah, there's lots of ways that we are vulnerable and exposed beyond the computers, and people get so concerned about little microscopic portions that probably aren't nearly as risky as 80% of the rest of their life.
I retired from insurance industry, paying bills, not paying bills. I mean, that's what we did. We had sent a thing to an employer and to a doctor because they had screwed up and sent different things about a person who had HIV. And we sent reverse to 2 different faxes, and we got fined. $5,000. We got the insurance company got fined $5,000. At the time, I was a CIO. Yeah. But that was for sending that you had HIV/AIDS to your employer where they shouldn't have gotten it, and sending the release to the doctor who, you know, totally reversed. And it was a clerk's error, but the problem being is that people think that it was going to be we'd have been out of business. Everybody had been millionaires, you know, getting the suits and everything. It wasn't barely the stuff on the wrist. It was a clerical error, and we had to say we wouldn't do it again. Guess what? We said we wouldn't do it again, you know. But the point being is secrets are sent where they shouldn't be. I mean, people worry about their computers, and it's like, unless you have something wrong, something you shouldn't have on your computer, don't worry about it. And I will tell you, look at Linux boxes, look at mainframes, look at every box out there. They're sending something to somebody. And the one thing about Windows and Office and Visual Studio and all the Windows products, I don't trust Microsoft no more than a nice guy. But there's one major corporation that may be telling the programmer in the corner to do something. But with Linux, you got some guy turning something in, and you have no clue what he's doing. You know, there's no boss going to say, Jim, I'm going to fire you for doing that. Gary, I'm going to fire you for doing that. You know. Yeah. So if he decides he wants to look for something on your computer and send it back. And then I have 2 quick comments, and I got to get going. And one was related to some stuff you guys were doing last week. My daughter is working for one of our personal businesses, and she had one of her employees bring in her son's computer, and they were playing with it, updating it. Anyway, they had a computer tech do a clone from another system onto that system, totally different system. Let's say Dell to Lenovo. And actually, it was Lenovo to Dell ended up in. The system was running on top of it once they got done, all kind of Lenovo diagnostics, which don't run well on Dell machines.
Right.
This machine was slow. They couldn't run games on it, and had a 3060 graphics card. Yeah. It was an i7. And it's like they reformatted, put Windows on it during the day, and it was running just sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
It had almost 200 processes running from the old machine.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they were choking too because they couldn't run. So you got to be careful what you clone back. And the same machine, I totally agree. Yeah. But just a quick thought. Yeah, but the big thing is I don't know about everybody here, but I know that you get a lot of different stuff from a lot of different people on your computer. I mean, you know, you got Windows Office 365 or 2021 or 16, whatever. And then you put LibreOffice on it. Then you put VLC. Then you put Media Player. Who plays well with each other? I mean, back in the old days, as I've heard Jeff say, I've heard Greg say, you had to go through a vetting process, which we did at every company I ever worked at, to get software on a computer. And gosh forbid you try to put your own software on the system. Nowadays, yeah, people slap something off and take it off, and it leaves a lot of crap behind. Yeah. I mean, take a look at antivirus software. If you go look at your computer, I'll bet you'll find an Avast or a Norton or McAfee still there from something you installed. I went to install Chrome browser on one of my PCs, personal PCs, and it tried to install, oh no, I installed HP software and it tried to install Chrome.
Yep.
And it defaulted to it. So if you click next, it's like, where'd Chrome from? You back up, oh, there's a check mark in the corner you're supposed to take off. So you do that in business, you can shoot somebody. Well, anyway, I got to get going, guys.
All right,
Adobe Reader, I had that happen with Adobe Reader recently on a computer.
Yeah, Adobe Readers.
I mean, I know from
McAfee stuff.
I know for a quick comment to Jeff. I mean, it worked when you. I mean, they would have tested that and would have beat you up and said, hey, you can't put whatever on because of that, or they didn't sell it for you. But nowadays, you're home. You install stuff and go, why doesn't it work? Where did Edge go? Yep. It's not under the default browser. Yep. Working Chrome. Okay, bye guys.
All right. See you, Gary. Thanks. All right. Anybody on the Zoom panel have any other final thoughts or questions or topics before we shut down? Because we are about to shut down. Nope. All right. Yep. Then I'll ask you in the Zoom to say goodbye to the audience, and I thank you for hanging out here.
Good night, Gracie.
Yeah, beat me to it. Good night, John Boy.
All right. Jose and Chris, are you there? Can you unmute and say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, goodbye.
And Jose, haven't heard from him yet. So maybe he's not there.
He's
all right. I'm going to end the Zoom session. So catch you guys another time. Bye. And then that gets me back over to here with my email address. If you want to send me an email, particularly about an issue that you have that you think I could address in video form, or topic request that you'd like me to address. Now, I don't respond one-on-one to help people with technical issues that way. But typically we'll be responding to your email in a subsequent video. And I try to get it the very next day with a Windows Daily episode that's Monday through Friday. All right. So I hope that was useful. Have a great day, everybody. Catch you later. Goodbye.